Multiple people have claimed to see a large furry animal trudging through the woods.
There's now even a museum dedicated to the sightings of what some are calling Bigfoot.
A Hickory man says he captured something amazing on his cell phone camera, video of Bigfoot.
For decades, Bigfoot has remained a mystery, a creature that straddles the line between folklore and fact. A towering figure, often glimpsed out of the corner of your eye, or caught fleetingly on a trail camera in the deep forests of North America. Could it be? Could Bigfoot really be real? New footage and strange encounters are now making that question harder to answer with a simple no. The Bigfoot legend may not be just a myth anymore. Could this be the proof we've been waiting for? Let's dive into the incredible footage that's got everyone talking. The trail camera in West Virginia, a shocking discovery.
Oh, there he goes.
Trail cameras capture wildlife in its glory, but is that all it captures?
Around 10 p.m. one evening, deep in the woods of West Virginia, something extraordinary happened. A trail camera, typically used to catch glimpses of the usual wildlife, recorded something that no one expected. There, in the moonlit darkness, was a massive, towering figure. This being was estimated to stand between 7.5 and 8 feet tall. It was holding a dead coyote by its throat, a sight that sent chills down the spine. But it wasn't just the size of this creature that caught attention. No, it was the way it seemed to look right at the camera. Yes, you heard that right. It made direct eye contact, as if it knew exactly what it was looking at. And here's what has everyone a little shocked. The creature appeared to respond to the infrared sensor, something that most wildlife can't even perceive. Now, Bigfoot enthusiasts have always speculated about Sasquatch's intelligence, but this was different. This figure wasn't acting like a typical Bigfoot. No, it seemed deliberate. The way it held the coyote, the way it acknowledged the camera, it almost felt like it was showcasing itself, perhaps even marking its territory. Could it be sending a message? Or perhaps it simply wanted to be seen. Either way, the mystery deepens. The figure's height alone is puzzling. West Virginia isn't exactly home to any known predators that could match this size. The land is private property, only accessible to the owner and his father. If this was a hoax, it would have to be a highly elaborate one. But as we analyze the footage, it becomes clear that this isn't just an ordinary animal. A thermal camera in Michigan. Bigfoot in the snow.
A dark, hulking image amongst the trees that appeared in one frame and disappeared.
Deep within Michigan's snowy wilderness, something truly extraordinary was captured on a thermal camera. A local hunter, out on a routine expedition with his equipment, recorded a creature so elusive, so baffling, it could only be described as Bigfoot. It wasn't just the figure that took everyone by surprise. It was the way it moved. The footage shows a tall, two-legged creature, draped in the dense winter snow, moving with remarkable grace. Even in the midst of thick snowfall, the creature's long legs and arms are visible, cutting through the snow-covered forest like a shadow. There's no clumsy, chaotic movement here. This isn't the stumbling, awkward image many might expect of a legendary beast trying to navigate through winter. No, this figure moves with fluidity, as if it's been perfecting this art for years. But what has everyone confused is how come Bigfoot has been spotted in winter? It doesn't seem to make sense at first glance, right? But when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. The snowman, as some have speculated, would need thick fur to survive the harsh cold of winter. And this creature, whatever it may be, seems designed for this very environment. Its dark form stands out against the icy backdrop, with its thick fur coat offering protection from the biting cold. Not only does it survive in these conditions, it thrives in them. In fact, what's even more remarkable than its size and the way it moves is how it blends into the forest around it. It's as if the creature knows exactly where to place each step, where to pause, and where to move next. If this creature were trying to hide from us, well, it would be nearly impossible to find. Think about it. Bigfoot, or whatever it is, doesn't seem to be struggling to survive. It's not desperately hunting for food like other animals in the harsh winter. The way it moves with purpose and intent makes you wonder, has it been living like this for centuries, learning how to remain unseen by every other living creature in the woods? What if the creature's behavior isn't random? What if it knows exactly where it's going, what it's doing, and how to avoid being detected? It leaves us with a haunting thought. How much do we really know about the creatures that live just out of sight, hidden in the deep woods? A farm worker in Pennsylvania. A close encounter.
And it would take us hours to cross from way over there.
It started off with a farm worker going about his routine on an ordinary day. But then, something caught his eye. At first, it's just a shape on the horizon, barely noticeable. But when he focused, he realized it's not a person. It's something else entirely. From a distance, it seems like a human figure, but something is off. This figure is moving, but not in the way a person would. The terrain is uneven, the ground scattered with rocks and obstacles. Yet this figure glides across it with an ease that no human could replicate. It doesn't stumble or slow down. It simply moves unbothered by the rough terrain. This isn't just a person out for a stroll, no matter how far away they may seem. The size of the figure, massive, towering above everything else, begins to settle in. No way this is some wanderer lost in the field. It wasn't like a bear or a deer either, common animals of the area. No, this creature's movements, its size, its speed, this wasn't anything ordinary. Could it have been some rare animal, an unknown species perhaps? It's possible. The farm worker stood still, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. There was something profoundly different about this creature, something that felt unnatural. The eerie sense of mystery grew stronger with every second. The creature didn't appear to be in a hurry, and the farm worker, who had likely seen his fair share of animals roaming the fields, couldn't shake the feeling that this was no ordinary creature. Could it have been Bigfoot? It's a possibility that many have considered in areas like this, near rural and agricultural areas where Bigfoot is often spotted. Why here? Why now? Well, there are a few reasons. For one, these types of environments provide a perfect setting for Bigfoot. There's food to be found, crops, animals, even the occasional discarded scraps left behind by farm workers. And the activity of humans? That could stir the curiosity of a creature like Bigfoot. Perhaps it was drawn to the area by the noise, the smell, or simply the presence of people. It could have been watching from a distance, studying the workers from behind the safety of the trees, just as many believe Bigfoot does when it's close to human settlements. Bigfoot's curiosity might have drawn it out into the open, to observe the humans going about their business, to see what they were doing. Or maybe the abundance of food around the area, especially during harvest, was enough to lure it into the open, just enough for someone to see. But one thing was clear. The farm worker wasn't imagining it. He knew what he saw. As the creature vanished back into the fields, just as quickly and quietly as it appeared, the farm worker was left standing there, heart pounding, a mixture of disbelief and awe settling in. Could Bigfoot be watching us from the edges of our fields, our forests, our lives? A remote part of Pennsylvania. Mysterious footprints.
Yeah.
In the quiet woods of Pennsylvania, a local resident found himself alone one late night when he started to hear strange noises. These weren't the usual sounds of deer rustling in the brush or the distant calls of owls. No, these were deep, unsettling sounds that carried a sense of something bigger, something out of place. What do you do when you hear something like that in the dead of night? Most people would stay inside, lock the doors, and hope the noises disappear. But not this man. Instead, he grabbed his camera, determined to find out what was lurking in the woods. Little did he know, his curiosity would lead him to capture something that would become a significant part of the ongoing mystery of Bigfoot. The footage he recorded was startling. A large creature moved with purpose through the dense trees, seemingly unbothered by the dark and the night sounds around it. Again, it wasn't struggling to walk, like many creatures do in the rough terrain. Instead, it moved with ease, gliding from one shadow to the next. This footage was compelling, but what happened next was even more fascinating. The man, now deeply unsettled and determined to understand what he had seen, decided to return to the same spot a month later. He hoped to uncover more evidence, to either confirm his suspicions or rule them out entirely. What he found was something that would make even the most skeptical doubters pause. There, in the mud, were large, distinct footprints. These weren't the typical prints left behind by raccoons, bears, or any other animal common to the area. No, these were something else entirely. The prints were massive, far larger than anything a human could leave behind. They were clear enough to make out the details. Deep grooves that looked almost like toes, a wide arch, and a shape that screamed bipedal rather than the usual quadrupedal animals. The size and the distinctiveness of the tracks were enough to send a chill down anyone's spine. Could they be Bigfoots? That's the question on everyone's mind. When you examine the evidence, you begin to see the difference between Bigfoot and other animals. Bears have large paws, but they don't leave prints that match the distinct arch and shape seen in these tracks. Their toes aren't shaped like this. Their gait is different too. And the area where these footprints were found, remote, deep in the woods, far from any common hiking paths or roads, doesn't fit the typical territory for something like a bear. The environmental conditions of the location are also important. The muddy ground, still moist from recent rain, allowed for a perfect impression of whatever creature had passed through. The mud is soft enough to hold the print, but firm enough to prevent it from being easily distorted or smudged. These tracks weren't an accident or a product of weathering. They were fresh, they were distinct, and they were placed with purpose. At this point, the evidence was piling up. This wasn't just another case of misidentified wildlife. Could Bigfoot really be out there, in the woods of Pennsylvania, moving through the trees when no one is looking? The trail camera photo. A glimpse of Bigfoot's face? Imagine this. You're out in the woods, and you set up a trail camera, hoping to capture the usual wildlife: deer, bears, maybe a coyote or two. The camera is tucked away, hidden in the shadows of the trees, doing its job quietly. But when you check the footage later, you find something that takes your breath away. Something that no one could have predicted. A photo that could change everything. This wasn't just a blurry image of an animal moving through the forest. In the dim lighting of the forest at night, the trail camera caught the reflective gleam of a large eye staring directly into the lens. The size and shape of the eye were too distinct, too striking to be ignored. It wasn't the eye of any common forest creature. It was too large, too reflective, a quality often linked to Bigfoot sightings. What are the chances two trail cameras in different places caught Bigfoot? Now, skeptics could argue that this is just another blurry shot of a large animal. But this image felt different. There was something about it, something that gave it an unsettling edge. The figure in the photo was barely visible, but the way it stared directly at the camera felt intentional. It wasn't just another animal passing through. It was like the creature knew the camera was there. If you look at the faint outline around the eye, the contours suggest a larger bipedal figure, something far taller and bulkier than any typical animal in the area. The posture and the way the creature seems to hold itself is not like a bear, deer, or any known forest dweller. This was something far more mysterious. Could this be a rare glimpse of Bigfoot? Or is it just another blurred shadow in the woods, another false alarm? The debate continues, and the mystery deepens with every new piece of evidence like this. But one thing's for sure. This photo, no matter what you believe it to be, is an unsettling and strange encounter. It captures a moment that many would dismiss as a myth, but for those who believe, It might just be one of the best pieces of evidence yet. A late-night encounter in Arkansas. Strange noises. Late that night, deep in the dense forests of Arkansas, the man stood alone in the cool, thick silence. The air was still, so quiet that even the faintest rustle seemed amplified. Then, a sound shattered the silence. A deep, guttural howl, unlike anything ever heard before. It wasn't the familiar chirp of crickets or the distant hoot of an owl. No, this was different. Haunting. And it didn't stop there. The howl was followed by a series of piercing, blood-curdling screams, each one more unnerving than the last. It was as if the forest itself was alive with a presence that was far beyond his understanding. The man, understandably shaken by the experience, pulls out his phone and starts recording. What he captures next is unmistakable. The howls, the eerie screams, the guttural noises, they all seem to come from a place that feels unnatural. These aren't the typical sounds of forest wildlife. They're louder, more intense, and they carry a kind of power that most animals don't possess. It's a sound that commands attention, a noise that echoes through the woods like a warning. Could these strange vocalizations be linked to Bigfoot? It's a question that many have asked after hearing similar sounds reported in other parts of the world.
Boyd's recordings are hardly the first time an alleged Bigfoot sound was captured. Made in the early 1970s, the Sierra sound recordings are touted as the gold standard of evidence for Bigfoot language. According to one respected linguist,
these types of howls and screams are often associated with Bigfoot sightings. The power, the intensity, the eerie quality of the sounds, they stand apart from anything a known animal could produce. The sheer volume of the howls, the way they resonate through the trees, suggests that this creature is far from your average forest dweller. There's a theory among Bigfoot researchers that these sounds could be a form of communication. Are these vocalizations used to communicate between creatures, to share information or coordinate movement? Or could they serve as territorial warnings, signaling to others that this is their domain? The intensity and frequency of the howls would support this idea. The way they seem to echo through the forest, as if they're meant to be heard far and wide, suggests that they could be a way to mark territory, letting others know, stay away. The man, still recording, listens intently. The howls and screams fade into the night, leaving behind only the silence of the woods. But the question lingers. What made these sounds? Could it really have been Bigfoot, using its powerful vocal cords to communicate or mark its territory? Or was it something else entirely? The eerie nature of the sounds, combined with the remoteness of the location, only adds to the mystery. These kinds of sounds have been reported in Bigfoot sightings all over the world, in forests and remote locations just like this one in Arkansas. But each new encounter, each new set of howls, adds another layer to the mystery. Is Bigfoot out there, communicating in ways we can't even begin to understand? Or is this simply an unexplained phenomenon, one that continues to baffle and fascinate us? A video from the canyons, Bigfoot caught hiding. Imagine you're out hiking, surrounded by the rugged terrain of a remote forest canyon. The beauty of the place is overwhelming. The jagged cliffs, the dense foliage, the solitude that comes with being miles away from civilization. You're filming as you go, capturing the natural wonders around you, when suddenly, your camera catches something unexpected. At first, it's just a shape in the distance, barely visible against the shadows, but as you focus in, your heart skips a beat. There, standing upright, is a large black figure, partially hidden behind a rock. The creature is trying to conceal itself, but it's not doing a very good job. It's massive, its form towering over the rocks, its broad shoulders and long limbs unmistakable even in the dim light. But what's more unsettling than the size is the way it moves. This isn't just a curious animal passing by. No, this creature is deliberately hiding. It's as if it senses danger, like it knows it's being watched, and it's trying to avoid detection. As the footage unfolds, it becomes clearer that this is no ordinary animal. The way it crouches, the careful placement of its feet as it tries to maneuver behind the rock, it's intelligent. The creature's deliberate movements suggest that it's not just another animal trying to hide, it's a survivor, honed by years of experience in avoiding human contact. This creature knows what it's doing, and it's doing everything it can to remain unseen. It's almost as though it has perfected the art of staying hidden, of moving through the woods without leaving a trace. The idea of Bigfoot being an intelligent, highly adapted creature is not new, but this footage provides a chilling glimpse into just how crafty and skilled it might be. In a world where most animals are driven by instinct, this figure appears to be calculating, using strategy to stay one step ahead of the prying eyes that constantly search for it. The deliberate nature of its actions suggests a being that has lived alongside humans for far longer than we've been willing to acknowledge. It's not just lurking in the shadows, it's actively evading detection. The Michigan trout fisherman, a double sighting.
It's crazy.
Now let's shift to Michigan, where a trout fisherman found himself deep in the woods, enjoying the solitude of the forest. As he walked, a strange series of wood knocks echoed through the trees. They were rhythmic, deliberate, and loud enough to be heard over the normal sounds of nature. At first, he dismissed it as the noise of a hunter, or perhaps some wildlife interacting with its environment. But as the heavy footsteps continued, something felt off. He decided to investigate, following the sounds through the dense forest, his curiosity growing with every step. As he rounded a bend in the trail, he caught sight of something that made his blood run cold. There, in the trees, moving with fluid, deliberate motions, were two massive creatures. At first, he thought they might be some kind of misidentified wildlife. But as he observed them more closely, it became clear. These were no ordinary animals. The creatures were too large, too human-like in their movement. Their size was unmistakable, towering over the trees, and their form, bipedal, moving with ease through the forest, pointed directly to one conclusion. The footage isn't crystal clear, but the figures are hard to miss. The creatures' silhouettes are massive, their bodies broad, their limbs long and powerful. As they move through the trees, their movements are smooth and deliberate, almost like they've done this 1,000 times before. Could this footage be proof that Bigfoot exists, or is it just another case of misidentified wildlife? Whether you believe in Bigfoot or not, this footage adds another layer to the ongoing mystery. With every new sighting, every new piece of evidence, the legend grows more tangible. Is Bigfoot real?
Seriously, look how big it is. I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
It was a bluebird January morning here in the foothills of northeast Provo when a group of guys saw a figure on the mountain that looked like something they've never seen before.
With so many sightings, so many pieces of evidence, the question becomes harder to ignore. Is Bigfoot real? Could this legendary creature be more than just folklore? The evidence seems to be mounting, and the sightings are becoming more frequent. Some say these creatures are interdimensional beings, capable of slipping between realms. Others believe they are simply a species we've yet to fully understand. Whatever the truth is, the mystery of Bigfoot continues to captivate us. The footage, the sightings, the footprints, they're all part of the puzzle. The more we uncover, the more questions we have. But one thing is for certain, the legend of Bigfoot is far from over. What do you think? Could Bigfoot really exist? Or is this just another chapter in the ongoing mystery of the unknown? Let us know your thoughts. The search for answers continues.